Some 12,000 years ago, humans chose to domesticate much of the world that surrounds us. Thousands of years later, we're still at it, but to varying degrees of success. Today we're going to take a look at 10 animals that, try as we might, we weren't able to bend to our will. Number 1 is extremely special because it's the only domesticated animal on this list, and that's no thanks to humans. Find out just what animal that is as we give you 10 animals we still haven't domesticated yet. Number 10. The elephant. You might find this fact surprising, but unbelievable as it may sound, elephants aren't considered domestic animals even though they've been captured and trained for over 3,000 years. Rather, they are still classified as wild animals, tamed wild animals, but still wild nonetheless. Captured and trained elephants are not considered domestic animals because they are not selectively bred. Selective breeding means that humans will select mating pairs to breed based on certain favorable traits. To be domesticated, they would need to be selectively bred for up to 12 generations. By the 12th generation, they should be genetically distinct from their wild ancestors and would be considered domestic. In general, captured elephants are not selectively bred. Only a few were selectively bred past the 2nd generation. At the end of the day, this still makes them wild animals. They only allow humans to ride them because they have been trained. Nevertheless, they are just like any wild animal, which makes them very unpredictable. Number 9. The raccoon. Raccoons are perfect candidates for domestication. They are skilled climbers and can easily squeeze into tight spaces, making them the perfect working animal for certain types of jobs. If domesticated, they would be useful for senior citizens and even the physically challenged. So why haven't we humans domesticated them though? Despite their cute looks, raccoons are aggressive and destructive. They're naturally curious, like moving around, and quickly become destructive when confined to an area. They usually need to be constantly monitored, and do bite when hungry or angry. Bites can turn fatal because they can infect humans with rabies. As raccoons can use their hands like humans, they will usually attempt to open anything they lay their hands on. And on top of that, they're also expert escape artists. In fact, this is a major reason why all domestication attempts have failed. Besides, raccoons are naturally loners, and are not social animals, and wouldn't show a threat of loyalty to us humans. Number 8. The great white shark. Of course, the first question that'll always come to mind is, why would anyone even try? But it seems that many people have already attempted to domesticate these monster fish to various degrees of failure. The main reason why all of these attempts failed is because the great white doesn't really take well to captivity. The very first great white held in captivity died within hours. The longest this animal has been held in captivity is 16 days. Captured great white sharks are also fond of hitting their heads on the aquarium's glass walls. One great white held at Okinawa Churami Aquarium in Japan continued bashing its head on the glass wall until it died. Another one held at California's Monterey Bay Aquarium hit her head on the wall continuously and attacked 2 other sharks until she was freed. Great white sharks don't fare well in captivity for several reasons. First, they are constantly on the move, capable of moving through an entire ocean. They also need lots of water to breathe, so even the largest of aquariums are too small for them. Captured sharks are also unbelievably aggressive and will usually refuse to eat. When they do, they require live prey, something that aquariums always find difficult to provide. Number 7. The zebra. Early African colonists of the 19th and 20th centuries encountered a major problem when they started traveling deeper into the continent, a reliable form of transportation. The horses that they brought to the continent contracted deadly diseases, that is if they managed to survive the journey by ship. To solve this problem, they turned to the zebra. After all, they look like horses, they act like horses, and there are a ton of them in Africa. Furthermore, zebras are also immune to several diseases that affected horses. However, all attempts to domesticate the zebra failed. Zebras are naturally alert and aggressive animals. They're also quite suspicious of any animal, including humans, and will flee immediately at the slightest hint of danger. They're fast runners, making capturing a few of them to domesticate a daunting task. If caught, they often deliver heavy kicks and bites in an attempt to escape. Although the colonists managed to get some zebras, they quickly realized that these animals are smaller than horses and uncomfortable to ride. Besides, zebras do not like to be ridden and will become aggressive after a while, even after they've been tamed. The aggressive nature of the zebra has been traced to its evolution. It shares its habitat with predators like lions, crocodiles, hyenas, leopards, and of course, man. This was a major issue with the colonists who feared that these predators would be attracted to their domesticated zebras. Number 6. The hippopotamus. Humans have been wise to stay away from the hippopotamus, one of the world's deadliest animals. More people are killed by hippos every year, more than lions, elephants, leopards, buffalo, and rhinoceroses combined. Obviously, any meeting between a human and a hippo is most likely going to end up a bad time for the former. Hippopotamuses have large teeth and are unbelievably fast despite being so large. Hippos can run up to 30 miles per hour despite their massive weight. In contrast, Usain Bolt, the world's fastest man, barely reaches 28 miles per hour. Nevertheless, there have been a few brave souls who have attempted to domesticate the hippo. As expected, those efforts ended badly. Regular viewers of this channel would already be familiar with Marius Els, who in 2011 was killed by a 1.2-ton 5-year-old hippo he was trying to domesticate. Els called the hippo Humphrey and considered it a pet. He once took Humphrey swimming and once rode on it, saying that the animal was like a son to him. Obviously, the feeling wasn't mutual. Humphrey was already a known local terror in the area in which they lived, even before what happened to Els. The hippo once chased a man and his grandson up a tree after they canoed on the river that ran through Els' farm. Humphrey was also infamous for killing calves and chasing golfers at a nearby golf course. Number 5. The Coyote. Try as we might, all attempts to domesticate the coyote have failed because of one reason: they naturally avoid us humans. We should also be wary of these animals because they can be infected with dangerous diseases like rabies and tularemia. However, some breeders have braved these risks and tried to domesticate the coyote. One common method is to crossbreed a male coyote with a female dog. While the resultant hybrid is much less aggressive towards humans, it is not a true coyote. Another method is to take young wild coyotes from their mothers and to train them into adulthood. While coyotes become less wary of humans after about 3 generations, they are not domestic animals. In fact, several attempts to domesticate a coyote have ended with the coyote attacking the breeder. This happens because a coyote close to humans could begin to consider a human as prey and will then look for the best time to attack. Interestingly enough, coyotes are slowly becoming domesticated. How? Very similar to how the animals on number 1 did, so stay tuned to find out. Number 4. The Fox. Did you know that there was once fully domesticated foxes? They did die off, and modern attempts to domesticate them again have been only partly successful. In a bit of irony, the extinct fox we domesticated was called the Fuegan or Yagan dog. It was domesticated from wild populations of the Andean fox. Curiously, the Fuegan dog was not really popular during its time. This was probably because it wasn't as useful as a regular dog. There is also evidence that we tried to domesticate foxes long before the Fuegan dog, but we dumped them for cats. Cats were selected over foxes because we could not determine what to use the foxes for. Cats, as we all know, went on to dominate YouTube and the internet for a good period of time. Foxes are difficult to domesticate because of their unbelievable stubbornness. Russian geneticist Dmitry K. Belyov sought to change this in the 1950s when he started a project to domesticate the silver-black foxes. 4 generations later, the foxes were displaying dog-like behaviors. They developed a fondness for people, wagged their tails, and licked their breeders. 50 generations later, they are barking and responding to humans and understand gestures. They also make noises that are distinct from wild foxes. The project is still ongoing, and we might just be a few generations away from a true domesticated fox. Number 3. The Moose. A few centuries ago, when horse cavalries were still a thing, King Carl XI of Sweden decided that he wanted a more ferocious animal to replace his horses. An animal that would send the horses of the enemies fleeing the battlefield at first sight. He then settled on the moose. Unfortunately for the king, the plan never worked out, as he later found out the moose was too dangerous to approach. This worsened during mating season when it got uncontrollably aggressive. Besides, the moose is susceptible to disease and has a varied diet that is difficult to provide. Moose are also smart creatures and will usually avoid the war front. When they did go near the battlefield, they fled the moment another moose was killed. Other attempts to use them as meat were unsuccessful. They would refuse to go to the slaughterhouse when they realized the moose taken there earlier did not return. Yet, despite the failures, there is still an ongoing moose domestication project at Kostroma Elk Farm in Kostroma, Russia. The project started in the 1930s when Joseph Stalin decided to set up a moose cavalry. Like King Carl XI's plan, Stalin's project failed, but Nikita Khrushchev revived it when he attempted to domesticate the moose for meat. This also failed, and several moose farms shut down. Kostroma is still up and running though, but their moose domestication project is geared more towards milk production. Now it's time for today's best pick. Today's pick is a fully decked out rhino, as if it was ready for a festival or something. Have people already succeeded in domesticating this creature? Are there even attempts to domesticate this thing? Well, find out next with number 2. The rhinoceros. Domestication is a long and intensive process which requires a ton of work. So any animal candidate for domestication should be extremely useful. Rhinos, however, aren't very useful animals. Rhino milk, for instance, isn't very rich in fats and protein, and it's not really suitable for human consumption. With their strength, they could make excellent plow animals, though. However, domesticating the rhino seems not worth the effort. Plus, it's extremely risky, too. Rhinos are the second largest land animal on Earth, next only to the elephant. They're also highly aggressive as well, adopting a charge now, ask questions later attitude. They're also notoriously nearsighted and wouldn't recognize threats if it stood feet in front of them, so they just charge at anything and everything they think is a threat. The aggressiveness can be bred out of them, but it may take hundreds of years of selective breeding to make that happen, and who really has that time? Before we move on, do me a favor. My analytics show that only about 15% of you watching are actually subscribed. Come on guys, what's up with that? Can you guys please hit the subscribe button? You guys watch my videos every day anyway, so you might as well subscribe and keep up to date with every video we put out. Number 1. The bonobo. Bonobos are number 1 on this list because they are the only domesticated animals not to be domesticated by man. They, in fact, domesticated themselves. Scientists aren't really sure how this happened, but they think it began to occur about 2 million years ago when the Congo River formed in Africa. This event separated the ancestors of the bonobos and the chimpanzees that live there. The primates of the north of the river evolved to become bigger and more aggressive because they competed with the bigger gorillas for food. On the other side of the river were the primates that would become the bonobos. They had more than enough food to eat, and there were no gorillas either. Their females became picky and decided which males they wanted to mate with. Aggressive males died out because the females preferred gentler males. Are there any wild animals that you think we should domesticate? Let us know down below in the comments. Also, make sure you check out the channel's other amazing videos. As always, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Later, everybody!